Welcome to the channel Nighttime Stories. I was sitting here, rereading your comments with suggestions for new lectures. We have already gathered quite a list of topics from you, which is honestly fantastic. As I was going through your ideas, one name caught my attention several times: Dattatreya. I thought to myself, we have truly overlooked him unfairly. He is a unique figure even within the rich tapestry of Indian mythology. He's not just a god seated on a golden throne. He is the first Avadhuta in history, a timeless wanderer, philosopher, and rebel who taught that wisdom can be found even in a roadside stone. Today we will explore this remarkable character. We'll discover why the great trinity of gods chose to incarnate in a single body. We'll see how he connects to heroes from previous stories, and understand why he is regarded as the protector of those who seek freedom beyond mere religious rituals. But before we dive into this ancient era, I want to sincerely thank everyone who supports the channel's growth and those who leave kind words in the comments. Now, let's set aside the day's worries, get comfortable, and begin the story of our hero. It all begins in a quiet forest retreat, where the air was filled with the scent of sandalwood and the smoke of ritual fires. Here lived the great sage Atri with his wife Anasuya. Her name is notable in itself. In Sanskrit, it means free of envy. As the story will show, this name was given to her for a very good reason. My name is Michael Reynolds. You're watching Ancient Secrets. Thanks for watching my content. I'd appreciate your subscription and like. Enjoy the video. Life in the ashram was peaceful and measured. Atri devoted himself to rigorous ascetic practices, seeking to understand the nature of creation. Anasuya, through her virtue and devotion to her husband, accumulated a special spiritual power. In ancient Indian tradition, this power is called pativrata. It is not simply faithfulness in the everyday sense, but a mighty energy that, according to legend, can influence the course of celestial bodies and even cause gods to tremble. And it was this power that caused a stir in the heavens. It all began with a visit from the sage Narada. Known as a cosmic traveller and, frankly, a great instigator, Narada enjoyed visiting various worlds, spreading news and gossip. But he did this not out of idle curiosity, but to maintain cosmic intrigue, which often led to beneficial outcomes. One day, he decided to visit the wives of the three supreme gods: Lakshmi, wife of Vishnu; Parvati, wife of Shiva; and Saraswati, wife of Brahma. When he came to each of them with his usual cunning, he began to praise the earthly woman Anasuya. He said her purity and devotion surpassed anything the world had ever seen, suggesting even the great goddesses might fall short of her spiritual greatness. The reaction of the goddesses was predictable. Each, as the embodiment of the universe's feminine energy, felt a sting of jealousy. How could a mortal woman living in a forest hut compare to those who govern prosperity, wisdom, and power over the cosmos? The goddesses gathered and decided that Anasuya's reputation needed to be destroyed, and the only way to do that was to strip her of the very righteousness Narada had so lightly praised. They turned to their husbands, Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva, and demanded that they go to earth to test the faithfulness of Atri's wife. The Trimurti, the supreme trinity of gods, initially tried to reason with their wives, explaining that Anasuya was indeed a holy woman and should not be disturbed. But the determination of the goddesses, combined with divine will, was irresistible. The gods agreed, though they likely had their own secret plan. They descended to the forest of Chitrakuta, taking on the forms of wandering Brahmin hermits. At that time, sage Atri was away, performing his ritual bath in the river. Anasuya received the guests with due respect. According to the laws of hospitality, denying travellers water and food was a grave sin that could wipe away all accumulated merits. The Trimurti asked for alms. Anasuya brought them food, but then the guests made a strange and frightening demand. They said, "O virtuous woman, we will accept this food only if you serve it to us completely free of your clothing." The situation seemed hopeless. The trap was closing. If Anasuya refused, she would break the sacred duty of hospitality and bring a curse upon her family. But if she agreed and appeared naked before strange men, she would break her vow of fidelity and lose her spiritual power. It seemed the goddesses in heaven could already celebrate their victory. Anasuya closed her eyes for a moment, turning inward to her inner light and the image of her husband. Her mind remained calm. She understood these wanderers were no ordinary men. The universe itself was testing her. Then she found a solution no one else could have imagined. She chanted a mantra of truth. If my loyalty to my husband is flawless in thought, word and deed, let these 3 men become infants. She scooped water from her pitcher and sprinkled it on the guests. At that moment, the great Brahma, Vishnu and Shiva, the creators and destroyers of worlds, were transformed into 3 tiny crying babies. For a mother, nudity before an infant is neither sin nor shame. Anasuya calmly removed her garments, took the children in her arms, and breastfed them. Thus, the cunning plan to destroy her righteousness turned into a situation where the supreme gods were literally in the cradle of a mortal woman, completely dependent on her care. When sage Atri returned home, he saw a remarkable sight. His wife was rocking 3 infants glowing with a divine radiance. Thanks to his spiritual vision, Atri immediately understood who these children were. He bowed to them, praising their divine play, or Leela as it is called in India. At this point, it's worth stepping back from the story to analyze what happened. We often see myths as mere tales, but they contain deep insights into ancient society's psychology. Anasuya's story raises the question of the nature of power. In Vedic thought, there was the concept of tapas, heat, energy accumulated through ascetic practice. This was usually considered a male domain, retreating to the forest, standing on one leg, fasting for years, and so on. But Anasuya's legend shows that fulfilling one's duties in the world, within the family, holds no less potential. Scholars see an interesting philosophical paradox here. The gods, who are by definition the source of all laws, try to provoke a human to break those laws. Why? On one hand, it is a classic test motif. Gold is tested by fire, the righteous are tested by temptation. On the other hand, there is a theory that the gods themselves sought a way to incarnate on earth through this family. They needed a reason, and the goddess's jealousy was merely a tool to fulfill a grander plan. To be born as the son of a woman like Anasuya meant a perfectly pure birth. The Trimurti did not simply lose this battle of wits. They gained what was missing in their celestial abodes: maternal love, simple and unconditional. Anasuya did not see them as rulers of the universe or destroyers of worlds. She saw children who needed warmth and care. This transformation of mighty gods into helpless infants is one of the most beautiful images in Puranic literature, showing that love and care can disarm even the highest powers. Meanwhile, panic reigned in the heavens. Lakshmi, Saraswati and Parvati awaited their husbands' return, but they had vanished. Soon, news reached them that their husbands had been turned into children and were living in a forest hermitage. The goddesses realized their mistake. Their pride had left the universe without its rulers. They had no choice but to descend to the earth themselves, to Atri's hut, and beg Anasuya to restore everything to its rightful order. Anasuya appeared before them, radiating the calm confidence that comes only from absolute purity of heart. The goddesses pleaded, "O righteous one, return our husbands to us. We acknowledge your greatness and repent for our envy." At that moment, a remarkable trait of Anasuya's character came to light. She neither reproached them nor celebrated triumphantly. Yet, a complication arose. The gods had already tasted maternal milk and care. In ancient Indian tradition, there is the concept of Vatsalya Bhava, a sacred bond between mother and child. This bond cannot simply be broken with a snap of the fingers, even by a supreme deity. The Trimurti regained their true, radiant, multi-armed forms, but declared that part of their essence would remain forever in this household. They were so impressed by the power of Atri's austerity and Anasuya's virtue that they decided to grant them sons who would be their full embodiments. Thus, the sage's family welcomed 3 extraordinary children: whose names would later echo in legends. It's important to note here that mythology is not a linear science. In some traditions and many icons, Dattatreya is depicted as the sole son who immediately embodied all three gods in one body. However, the most authoritative texts, like the Bhagavata Purana, offer a more detailed picture. The divine gift manifested as three brothers. Yet, paradoxically, even though they were born as distinct individuals, they did not lose their unified divine nature, which would later be most vividly concentrated in the figure of Dattatreya. Now let's see how these powers were distributed. From Brahma's essence came Soma, a beautiful and radiant child. From the fierce and destructive essence of Shiva was born Durvasa, a future great ascetic. And from the essence of Vishnu, the preserver of the world, came Dattatreya. Here we reach a point that often puzzles careful scholars of the epic. The first son's name is Soma. We know him as the god of the moon. But if you are familiar with the classic myth of churning the ocean of milk, you remember that the moon god emerged from the ocean's waters. So how is it that here he is born to earthly parents? This question is entirely valid and requires some explanation. In Indian cosmology, time is cyclical. It is measured in kalpas, vast spans of time within which the universe is created anew. Events in different kalpas may repeat, but with variations. What we see here is a classic example of divine play, or Leela. In one cycle, Chandra emerges from the ocean. In another, he is born as Soma in Atri's family. For mythological consciousness, there is no contradiction. The essence is one, but the ways it enters the world can change. The name Soma itself is interesting. As mentioned in the lecture on Chandra, in Sanskrit it means not only the moon, but also the sacred drink offered in sacrifice, and the life-giving moisture that nourishes plants. Soma's birth in Atri's family symbolizes Brahma's cooling creative power, necessary for balance. The second son, Durvasa, embodied Shiva's ascetic fervor. His name can be translated as the difficult one or the ill-dressed one. Indeed, Durvasa always appears in myths as a fiery, uncontrollable sage, ready to curse anyone for the slightest offense. He serves as a living reminder that divine energy can be both creative and formidable. But the main figure in our story is undoubtedly the third son, Dattatreya. Let's examine his name, for in Sanskrit, names are keys to a character's essence. The word Datta means given or gifted. The second part, Atreya, is a patronymic meaning son of Atri. So literally, he is the gifted son of Atri. Dattatreya's uniqueness lies in the fact that although he is technically considered an avatar of Vishnu, he embodies traits of the entire Trinity. Ancient images and icons often show him with three heads, symbolizing Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva. This was perhaps the first attempt in Hinduism to create an image of a single god, uniting warring cults. Imagine ancient India, where followers of Vishnu and Shiva argued over whose mantra was stronger. Then appears Dattatreya, a deity holding Vishnu's discus, Shiva's trident, and Brahma's prayer beads. He seems to say, "Friends, there is no need to argue. The source is one." Atri and Anasuya looked at their son and saw something beyond a mere child. His skin was the colour of a storm cloud, a sign of Vishnu, but his gaze held the detachment of a great yogi, characteristic of Shiva. He grew incredibly fast and, according to the Bhagavata Purana, showed a tendency toward complete renunciation of the world from a young age. Usually children ask for toys, but Dattatreya sought solitude. Here lies a profound philosophical irony. Vishnu is the god responsible for society, order, and dharma, the law. He incarnates as kings, heroes, and lawmakers. Yet here, in Dattatreya's form, Vishnu becomes an avaduta, one who has cast off all social norms. He rejects caste, propriety, and home. Why would the god of order choose the path of chaos? Perhaps the answer is that true order cannot be established without transcending it. To understand a system's structure, one must step outside the system. Dattatreya did not remain long in his parents' comfortable ashram. His nature demanded freedom. After receiving blessings from his mother Anasuya and father Atri, he set out on a journey that would forever change India's spiritual landscape. From this point begins the most mysterious part of his biography, which perplexes many scholars. Usually, when a deity comes into the world, they seek to restore order, punish wrongdoers, or establish a great dynasty. Dattatreya did the exact opposite. He did everything possible to be forgotten by the world. He did not gather armies or preach in public squares. Instead, he went to a lake, immersed himself in its waters, and remained there in deep meditation for many years. Local legends speak of hundreds of years, but in the epic, time is a flexible concept. The purpose of this act was simple. He wanted to avoid unwanted attention. The news that Vishnu himself had incarnated on Earth spreads faster than the wind. Soon, crowds began gathering at the lake's shore. Gods, demigods, demons and humans, all seeking blessings, supernatural powers, or simply to witness a miracle. When Dattatreya finally emerged from the lake, he looked nothing like the pilgrims expected. Instead of a radiant youth clad in silk and gold, they saw a strange, unsettling figure. His body was covered in mud and algae, his hair matted, and his gaze unfocused, as if under the influence of intoxicating substances. Moreover, according to some bold texts, he was not alone, but accompanied by a beautiful woman, behaving in an unusually free manner and holding a vessel with wine. The crowd of the devout, expecting to see a holy ascetic, recoiled in horror. "Is this really God?" they whispered. "He's a drunkard and madman, breaking all laws of purity." People bound by rules of propriety and religious dogma hurried away, cursing the moment they sought an audience with this stranger. And this was exactly what Dattatreya wanted. Once the crowd of superficial onlookers dispersed, only a few remained, those sages whose spiritual vision allowed them to see the essence beyond the outer shell. They understood that this was a performance, a great maya, an illusion created by the master to repel the unworthy. Here we introduce a key term essential to understanding our hero, Avaduta. In Sanskrit, it means one who has cast off bonds, or one who has shaken off constraints. An Avaduta transcends caste, social roles, and even religious prescriptions. It makes no difference to him whether he sleeps on silk sheets in a palace or on the ground in a cemetery. For him, there is no difference between gold and a lump of clay, between praise and insult. Through his behaviour, Dattatreya introduced a radical method into the Indian spiritual tradition, what psychologists might call shock therapy. Ordinary people constantly worry about what others think of them. We build our image and carefully tend our reputation. Dattatreya demonstrates that true freedom comes when you simply don't care about anything at all. He deliberately behaved like an unmat, a madman. There is an interesting theory that such behaviour serves as a powerful form of protection. When people praise you, your ego grows, and you start feeling important. This becomes a spiritual trap. But when you are despised, pelted with stones, or considered insane, your ego receives no nourishment. It starves and gradually dissolves. The person becomes transparent to the world. Wandering through forests and mountains, Dattatreya often appeared frightening. The Markandeya Purana describes how he could laugh without reason, cry, or sit motionless like a rock for days. He did not wear the sacred thread that was mandatory for Brahmins, nor did he perform ritual baths on a schedule. For the orthodox society of that time, this was a challenge. Imagine meeting today a man in rags, muttering to himself in a city square. You would hardly suspect he was a great teacher. Most likely you would cross to the other side of the street. And here lies the great irony of Dattatreya's teaching. God is hidden in everything, even in what seems unattractive to us. He teaches that dividing the world into pure and impure exists only in our minds. For absolute consciousness, it makes no difference where it dwells. Those few disciples who overcame their disgust and social prejudices received from him the highest knowledge. His solitude was not forced, but a conscious choice. He became the embodiment of nature, wild, untamed, and completely free. Interestingly, it was during this period that his image as the protector of all outcasts was formed. While classic gods demanded complex rituals and purity, anyone sincerely seeking truth could turn to Dattatreya, regardless of their past. Wandering through forests and mountains, Dattatreya often looked frightening to ordinary people, but was deeply attractive to true seekers. Fate, or rather karma, brought him into contact with great figures of that era. The story we now examine happened in ancient times, when kings still personally toured their realms and forests were full of hermits. The main character of this episode is King Yadu. This name should be familiar, as the great Yadava dynasty, from which Krishna would be born centuries later, traces back to him. He had everything a person could dream of: power, gold, the respect of his subjects, and robust health. But, as often happens with wise people, restlessness lived within him. One day, weary from state affairs and the endless pursuit of his kingdom's prosperity, he went into the forest to unwind and hunt. Pushing through the thicket, he came upon a sunny clearing and saw a scene that made him stop. On the ground, right in the dusty path, lay a young man, Dattatreya. He looked like an Avaduta, one who had cast off social chains. He wore no fine clothes, no marks of distinction, not even a simple price tag. But what struck the king was not this. India had seen many beggars. What amazed the king was the expression on the young man's face. Dattatreya was not asleep. He was simply lying there, and on his face shone a smile of bliss, an absolute calm that the king had never seen in any nobleman at his court. It seemed this wanderer possessed the entire universe, though he did not even have a pocket to hold a coin. Being insightful, the king dismounted, approached the ascetic, and bowed deeply with great respect. He did not ask, "Who are you?" or "Where do you come from?" Instead, he asked the question that troubled him most. "O Brahman, you engage in no activity. You lie here like a child or a madman. You have no family, no wealth, no power. Usually people without these suffer and wither, but I see you full of strength. Your body shines, and your eyes hold an ocean of happiness. I, a king, have everything, yet my heart is full of worries and fear of losing what I have gained. Tell me, where does this bliss in you come from, one that depends on nothing external?" We are used to thinking that happiness is a result. When I earn, when I build, when I achieve, then I will be happy. Yadu voiced a paradox. He had results but no happiness, while Dattatreya had no results but was overflowing with joy. Dattatreya opened his eyes, and without changing his posture, answered the king with a simplicity characteristic only of great souls. "O king, my happiness does not come from outside, so it cannot be taken away. I am happy in myself because I have realized my true nature. But I did not reach this alone. I had many teachers who revealed wisdom to me." The king was surprised. "Who are your teachers? Surely great rishis living in the Himalayas." Then Dattatreya spoke words that became the foundation of the famous Avaduta Gita and the 11th song of the Bhagavata Purana. He said, "I have not one guru, O king, but 24, and I did not seek them out in distant places. I simply looked around." Dattatreya began listing: earth, air, sky, water, fire, moon, sun, dove, python, ocean, moth, bee, elephant. The list went on, including unexpected figures like the courtesan Pengala and a spider. For King Yadu, it was shocking. At that time, knowledge was believed to come only from an authoritative priest who had memorized the Vedas. And here was a young yogi claiming his teachers were the earth beneath his feet and a passing bee. Here we see Dattatreya's revolutionary approach to learning. He tells us, "The world is an open book. The problem is not that we lack teachers, but that we do not know how to be students. We look at nature with a consumer's eye. The earth must yield crops. Water must quench thirst." Dattatreya looked at nature contemplatively. He saw in every phenomenon a metaphor for divine law. "Look at the earth," he said to Yadu. "People trample it, dig it, burn it with fire, pollute it. Yet it responds by supporting them, growing flowers and feeding them. By observing the earth, I learned the art of kshama, great patience and forgiveness. I understood that a wise person should not stray from his path, even if harmed by creatures acting according to fate. This brief dialogue transformed the king's consciousness. He realized his worries stemmed from trying to control the world instead of learning from it. Dattatreya showed him that knowledge is everywhere. There is no need to run to a cave to find God. It is enough to look at the wind, which has no attachments, flying over gardens and cemeteries alike, without absorbing their scents. The meeting with Yadu reveals Dattatreya not as a mystical sorcerer, but as a subtle psychologist and observer. Interestingly, modern experts often use similar methods, calling it mindfulness. But Dattatreya went further. His method was to seek spiritual meaning in the most seemingly ordinary things. This answer stunned the king. He expected to hear the names of great rishis, but instead heard a strange list: earth, water, python, bee. Yadu understood that mere naming was not enough. He needed to grasp the essence of this teaching, how wild animals could replace sages. So the king did not hurry away. On the contrary, he stood still, eager to learn what could be taught by such unusual teachers. Seeing this sincere thirst for truth in the ruler's eyes, Dattatreya began revealing his secrets, turning the forest clearing into an open-air classroom. Among his 24 gurus, Dattatreya particularly highlighted the python, or Ajagara in Sanskrit. This creature evokes fear or aversion in most people, but for our hero, it became a symbol of trust in the universe. Look at how the python lives. It does not hunt like tigers or wolves, who burn their energy chasing prey. The python lies still. It is so passive that moss might start growing on its scales. Dattatreya explained that the python accepts only the food that comes to it. If an unwary hare runs by and literally falls into its mouth, the python eats. If there is no prey for a day, 2, or even a week, the python remains calm. The python does not fall into despair, nor does it complain about the unfairness of fate or devise strategic plans to improve its hunting grounds. It simply waits. This behavior became the foundation of a strict ascetic practice known as the Python's Fast. Its essence lies in a complete renunciation of initiative. The ascetic who adopts this fast does not beg. He eats only what people themselves place into his hands or mouth. If no one comes, he remains hungry, yet preserves inner bliss. For a modern person used to controlling every aspect of life, this sounds unsettling. We fear uncertainty. But the teacher saw in this a great freedom. The python teaches us that our destiny has already determined the measure of our sustenance and the length of our lives. Running around and fussing only exhausts the mind, but cannot bring more than what is allotted. The python's lesson is one of conserving energy and embracing total acceptance in the highest sense of the word. If you are meant to survive, the universe will bring you food even in the desert. However, to prevent the king from thinking spirituality is merely passive lying in the dust, the teacher presented a completely opposite example next: the bee. The bee is the exact contrast to the python. It embodies diligence and accumulation. From dawn to dusk, it flies from flower to flower, gathering nectar drop by drop. It builds a complex hive, cares for its young, and, most importantly, stores honey. The bee thinks about the future. It prepares for winter. It accumulates wealth. At first glance, this seems like the perfect model for a householder or king. But observing the bee, the teacher saw tragedy in its fate. The bee accumulates more than it can consume, and this surplus leads to its downfall. One unfortunate day, a honey hunter comes to the forest. He lights a fire, drives the bees away with smoke, destroys their home, and takes everything they have worked so hard to gather for months. The bees either perish or are left with nothing. "Look at them," said the teacher to the king. "The bee teaches me that accumulation is pointless. What you painstakingly gather will eventually belong to others, thieves, heirs, or fire. Excessive attachment to possessions makes you vulnerable. The one who owns nothing sleeps peacefully, like the python. The one who has stored honey always awaits the hunter." Here lies a subtle irony. The bee became a guru not because the teacher wanted to imitate it, but because he wanted to avoid its fate. This is called learning by contrast. From this observation arose the practice of gathering alms in small portions, like a bee collecting nectar from many flowers, without burdening any single one or creating a stockpile. The monk consumes what he receives immediately, so his hive, his stomach, is empty by morning, leaving no reason for a hunter or robber to attack. Thus the teacher balanced between two extremes. On one side, the calm of the python, which trusts the moment. On the other, the wisdom of the bee, which reminds us that greed and hoarding lead to suffering. For the king, these simple images were a revelation. After all, kings are essentially the chief bees of the state. They accumulate treasure, expand borders, build palaces that time or conquerors will eventually destroy. The ascetic showed the ruler that happiness is not in full granaries, nor in simply lying on the ground. Happiness lies in the absence of fear for tomorrow. The python does not fear hunger, and the wise one who has learned the bee's lesson does not fear loss, because he has nothing to lose. These reflections on the nature of desire and fear were only the beginning. The teacher did not limit himself to theory. There were moments in his life when he had to demonstrate these principles in practice before a very particular audience. Teaching a noble king who listens attentively is one thing. Facing beings woven from ambition and thirst for power is another altogether. Interestingly, these lessons about the python and the bee would resurface years later in a conversation with one of the most complex figures in Indian mythology, a demon king who, despite his origins, was a devoted follower of the divine. Those familiar with the story of the fierce protector and his devoted young admirer may recall the boy's triumph, the defeat of his tyrannical father, and the blessing he received from the formidable avatar. But, as often happens with great figures, childhood is only a prologue. Few consider what became of the boy as he grew and took the throne of the demon realm. What happened was this. The boy who once feared neither fire nor poison became a wise but burdened ruler. Being a demon king is no easy task, even for a righteous man. Politics, wars, managing a vast empire, all demanded immense effort. According to ancient texts, the mature king set out on a journey through his lands to escape the pressures of state affairs for a time. He travelled with a grand entourage, ministers and generals. The thunder of his chariots shook the earth, reminding all who saw him who was in charge. The journey led to the banks of a great river beneath a mountain range. There, among picturesque rocks, the king noticed something that stood out from the grandeur. A man lying on bare earth, covered in a thick layer of road dust, indicating he had been there a long time. Unlike ordinary wanderers, whose faces often show hardship or illness, this man radiated a light that seemed to outshine even the gleam of royal armour. It was the teacher. Possessing what we might call spiritual vision, the king immediately ordered the procession to stop. He, the great emperor before whom 3 worlds trembled, dismounted and bowed at the feet of this dusty ascetic. The entourage was puzzled. Why would their lord bow to a seemingly madman? But the king saw deeper. He spoke to the recluse not as a request, but as the heartfelt cry of a successful yet weary man. "O Holy One," he said, "you look healthy, strong and radiant. Your speech is as sweet as honey. People with such gifts usually seek wealth, fame, or at least comfort. They work, trade, fight. But you lie here doing nothing, yet you seem happier than any king. What is your secret? We are forever busy and consumed by worry, but you are calm as moonlight." The teacher smiled without changing his posture. He liked the king. Unlike many others, this ruler sought not power but truth. Then the ascetic decided to reveal the essence of his practice, which he had only briefly mentioned to the earlier king. It was the so-called Python's fast. "Look at me, king of demons," he said. "I watch how people waste their lives chasing happiness that always slips away. They think, if I earn a little more gold now, then life will be good. But it never is. Desire is a fire. The more wood you throw on it, the fiercer it burns. I have learned one simple thing. True joy is not something that comes from outside, but what already exists within our soul." He went on to explain his philosophy of acceptance, not a depressive surrender, but a noble trust. "I behave like the python. If fate sends me delicious food, I eat it. If it sends bitter or tasteless food, I eat that too. And if there is no food at all, I lie and wait, without losing strength of spirit. Sometimes I sleep on soft cushions in palaces where I am invited, and sometimes on stones or even in the dirt. I wear silk if it is given to me, and go without clothes if not. It makes no difference to me, for myself is not dependent on these outward things. For Proclada, who was used to planning every move of an empire, this was a radical revelation. Dattatreya taught him that constant activity often serves as a way to escape from oneself. We fear stopping because in the silence we must face our own emptiness. The python, however, does not fear emptiness. It fills it with its calm. The very fact of this teaching is fascinating. Dattatreya, the embodiment of the gods, instructs Proclada, the demon king. In Western culture, we are accustomed to clear divisions, light forces versus dark forces, with the light destined to destroy the dark. But in Indian philosophy, things are more complex. Asuras are also children of the Creator, and Dattatreya, as the supreme yogi, transcends this duality. He does not see Proclada as a demon, but as a devoted student ready to receive higher wisdom. Knowledge is neutral, like the sun. It shines equally on the temple altar and on a garbage heap. Avatuta explained to the king that the root of all suffering is identifying oneself with the body and mind. "You think you are the king, that you accomplish great deeds," he said. "But in reality, these are just the qualities of nature, forces of the material world interacting with each other. You are merely a witness." Hearing this, Proclada bowed to his teacher and continued on his path. He did not stop being king, did not disband his army, nor did he lie down in the dust beside Dattatreya. But inwardly, he became like the python. He learned to govern the empire without emotional involvement, accepting victories and defeats as changes in the weather. This encounter reveals Dattatreya's unique teaching method. He does not demand his student change external life, but transforms the inner attitude. One can lie in the dust dreaming of power, and then they are not a yogi, just a failure. Or one can sit on a throne and be completely free from attachment to power, and then they are a saint. But while Proclada was ready for such profound philosophy, not everyone who met our hero shared this level of understanding. History tells of people who came to Dattatreya confident in their righteousness, but left empty-handed, confronted by his famous provocations. One such story involves a figure whose power rivaled any king, a Brahmin warrior named Parashurama. We won't delve into the details of his biography or recall the long war he waged against the warrior caste, as that is covered elsewhere. It is enough to say that by the time Parashurama met Dattatreya, his mission was complete. He had travelled the land, destroyed tyrants, avenged his father Jamadagni, and restored justice. But like many who devote their lives to struggle, after victory he felt not joy, but a hollow emptiness. His axe was no longer needed by the world, and his soul sought a peace that cannot be won by force. Parashurama sought a teacher who could extinguish the fire of anger still smouldering in his heart. Naturally, word led him to Mount Gandhamadana, where the greatest of yogis was said to dwell. However, Parashurama was not just a warrior, he was a Brahmin raised in the strictest traditions of purity. He knew the Vedas, observed all rituals, and avoided any defilement. So what he saw upon reaching Dattatreya's abode shocked him deeply. Before him sat a dishevelled old man with prayer beads and a young, strong man, and he was not alone. According to the Tripura Rahasya texts, Dattatreya sat embraced by an incredibly beautiful woman. Before them stood a vessel of wine, a drink absolutely forbidden to a Brahmin. The ascetic laughed, his eyes wandered, and his behaviour suggested indulgence in sensual pleasures rather than meditation on the divine. Imagine Parashurama's state. He had travelled thousands of miles hoping for sacred guidance, but found what appeared to be decadence. An ordinary person in his place would have turned away with disdain, convinced the rumours were false and that this was a fallen monk. Many had done just that before him. But Parashurama was an avatar of Vishnu. His intuition told him, something is not right here. The scene seemed too deliberate, like a theatrical performance staged for a single viewer. Parashurama stayed. He bowed and said, "O Lord of Yogis, I know who you truly are. Your games may deceive the uninitiated, but I see your true nature." Dattatreya, however, did not rush to reveal himself. He began shouting at his guest, trying to drive him away, calling him a sinner, a drunkard, and a womanizer, saying that such a pure Brahmin as Parashurama had no place beside him. This was the final test, the test of judgment. In Indian spiritual practice, especially in tantric traditions, there is a concept called akora, absence of aversion. The idea is that for God, there is no pure or impure. Everything is a manifestation of the same energy. If you see dirt, then dirt exists in your own mind. Dattatreya used this provocative method to weed out those who sought only external piety, but were not ready to receive absolute truth. Parashurama passed the test. He did not let his mind descend into judgment. He remained standing and continued to seek guidance. Then, the great illusion, Maya, lifted. In an instant, the wine disappeared, and the beautiful woman sitting on the ascetic's lap transformed. According to one version, she was the goddess Lakshmi herself, or Anaga, Dattatreya's consort, embodiment of purity. The wine symbolized intoxication with divine love, the ecstasy the soul experiences when united with the Absolute. Dattatreya transformed. His gaze became clear and deep as the ocean. He looked kindly at Parashurama and said, "You have defeated external enemies, Uram, but your greatest enemy, your restless mind, is still alive. You seek peace in the outer world, but it is found only within." This story explains why Dattatreya is called Smritigami, the one who comes at the call of memory, and why he is regarded as the patron of Tantra. He breaks social conventions. For Orthodox society, wine and women are sins. For the Tantrika, they are symbols of Shakti, energy. Dattatreya showed Parashurama that the world is not divided into black and white. It was after this meeting that one of the deepest philosophical dialogues in Hindu history began, recorded in the text called Tripura Rahasya, or the secret teaching of the great goddess. Seeing his student ready, Dattatreya ceased his act of madness and began teaching Parashurama how to transform the energy of the warrior into the energy of the sage. After all, destroying villains with an axe is only half the battle. It is far harder to defeat the villain inside one's own mind, our ego, which constantly divides the world into friend and foe, right and wrong. Interestingly, this meeting of two avatars of Vishnu symbolizes the transition from one era to another. Parashurama represents the old order based on strength and law. Dattatreya represents the path of knowledge, the path of Jnana Yoga, where power yields to awareness. The teacher explained to his student that as long as he considers himself the doer, the one who performs great deeds, he will suffer. Freedom comes when you understand that all actions are performed by nature itself, and you are only the observer. Dattatreya's teaching, passed on to Parashurama, became the foundation for his inner transformation. But Avatuta knew that wisdom is needed not only by those who have laid down their arms, but also by those in the midst of life's storms. If Parashurama came to the teacher seeking peace after a great battle, then our next story's hero, King Alaka, found himself in a far more desperate situation. He had to seek truth at a moment when his world was literally collapsing and enemies stood at the gates. Alaka was no ordinary ruler. From childhood, he was prepared for a great destiny, but his upbringing was unusual. His mother was the wise Queen Madalasa. In Indian legends, she is known for singing lullabies not about monsters or great warriors, but about the nature of the higher self. She whispered to her children, "You are pure, you are enlightened, you are beyond name." Alaka's three elder brothers, after hearing such songs, immediately retreated into the forest to live as hermits. But their father, King Riladvaja, pleaded for at least one son to remain and govern the kingdom. Madalasa agreed and raised Alaka differently, as the ideal ruler, deeply engaged in worldly affairs, but carrying a dormant seed of wisdom within. Years passed. Alaka ruled the city of Kashi, present-day Varanasi, with wisdom and justice. His kingdom flourished, the treasury overflowed with gold, and his subjects were well fed. On the surface, life seemed perfect, but as we know, success often breeds envy, especially among those closest to us. Alaka's eldest brother, Subahu, who apparently had not fully embraced their mother's teachings about renunciation, desired the throne for himself. He conspired with the ruler of a neighbouring kingdom and launched a war against Kashi. The situation for Alaka was grim. The city was under siege, food supplies dwindled, the army's morale faltered, and the enemy tightened their grip day by day. As a responsible monarch, Alaka spent sleepless nights burdened by the weight of thousands of lives. His mind raced, searching for a strategic solution: to form an alliance, fight a decisive battle, or bribe the enemy. None of these options guaranteed victory. Despair began to fill his heart like a cold wave. At that moment, when an ordinary person might have broken down or panicked, Alaka remembered his mother's counsel. Before passing into the next world, Madalasa had given him a ring and said, "My son, when all earthly means are exhausted and sorrow overwhelms your soul, open this ring and read what is written inside." With trembling hands, the king opened the ring's secret compartment. Inside was a tiny note with simple advice: renounce the company of those attached to the worldly. Seek out Dattatreya. It was strange advice. The city was besieged, enemies surrounded them, yet his mother told him to seek a yogi. But Alaka had no choice. That night, dressed in simple clothes, he quietly left the palace and slipped through enemy lines into the forest. Fortunately, he did not have to search long. Dattatreya, aware of the plight of his longtime protégé, after all he had blessed Alaka's birth, waited beneath a massive banyan tree. The king fell at the yogi's feet, exhausted, dirty and frightened. "Oh, Lord of the Yogis," Alaka pleaded, "my kingdom is dying. My brother has betrayed me. My mind is burning with anxiety. Grant me the strength to crush my enemies. Give me a weapon to incinerate their armies, or teach me a strategy that will bring victory." Any other divine figure might have handed the king a magical bow or invincible armour. But Dattatreya looked at him with his trademark calm gaze, tinged with gentle irony, and asked a question that seemed utterly out of place. "You ask to be freed from suffering, Alaka. But tell me first, who exactly is suffering?" The king was taken aback. "Who? I am suffering. I am King Alaka." "And who are you?" Dattatreya continued his inquiry. "Is it your body that suffers?" the teacher pressed on. "Well, the body is tired," the king admitted, "but it is the soul that aches." "Where is this soul?" the teacher persisted. "If I cut off your hand, would you cease to be yourself?" Dattatreya asked. "No, I would remain myself, just without a hand." "And if your leg were cut off?" "I would still remain," Alaka said. "Then you are not your body. Perhaps you are your mind, but the mind changes. In childhood you thought one thing, now another. Who then observes these changes?" While soldiers outside the city sharpened their swords and prepared to storm the walls, beneath the banyan tree, the strangest battle of Alaka's life unfolded. A battle with his own ego. Dattatreya methodically dismantled Alaka's identification with the roles of king, owner, and victim. This method, known in Indian philosophy as neti neti, not this, not that, was a process of letting go. "You fear losing your kingdom," Dattatreya said, "but does it truly belong to you? It existed before you and will remain after you. You are only a temporary steward. You say your enemies cause you pain, but an arrow can only wound the body, and an insult only the mind. If you recognize yourself as the Atman, the eternal, infinite witness, what can the armies of the world do to you? They cannot cut you with a sword, burn you with fire, or soak you with water." It was a session of radical inner transformation. Dattatreya led Alaka to realize that the root of his fear was not the strength of Subahu's army, but his own attachment to the idea of mine. "This is my city, my throne, my reputation." Remove the word mine, and suffering disappears. The situation remains, the problem remains, but suffering vanishes. Alaka listened, and gradually the panic began to recede. He suddenly saw the absurdity of his plight. He, the eternal, immortal spark of consciousness, trembled over a piece of land and a pile of stones called a palace. For the first time in many days, his breathing became steady. "So, I don't need to fight?" he asked quietly. "To fight or not is a question for the body and duty," Dattatreya replied. "But it must be done without fear and anger. You must act like an actor playing a role on stage. An actor may cry, shout, or die in a play, but inwardly knows that after the performance, he will go home to drink tea. Become that actor, Alaka." That night in the forest, the king underwent an accelerated course in Raja Yoga and Jnana Yoga. He ceased to be a frightened man clinging to power and became a sage. Outwardly, nothing changed. The war continued, the enemy was strong. But inside, Alaka became invulnerable. He thanked his teacher, bowed at his feet, and set off back to the besieged city. But he walked not as a victim, but as a master of his fate, ready for whatever destiny might bring. Returning to the palace, the king found his ministers near hysteria. Generals waved maps, advisors shouted that food supplies would last only 3 days, and spies reported that enemy battering rams were already being brought to the main gates. Amid this chaos, Alaka appeared. But instead of donning armor and shouting a battle cry, he calmly approached the throne, sat down, and ordered servants to bring water. His face was serene, as if he had just returned from a pleasant garden walk, not a perilous night in the forest. The generals fell silent. Alaka looked over his subjects and gave an order that likely made even seasoned warriors' hair stand on end. "Open the gates. Let my brother Subahu and the king of Kashi enter. I want to speak with them." The advisors probably thought their ruler had lost his mind in grief. Surrender the city without a fight, betray the memory of their ancestors. But no one dared disobey a direct command. The gates creaked open on massive hinges. The invading army, expecting fierce resistance and a hail of arrows, froze in confusion. Was this a trap or a surrender? Subahu, accompanied by his commanders, cautiously entered the city. They moved through empty streets toward the palace, gripping their sword hilts, ready to repel an attack at any moment. When Subahu entered the throne room, he saw his brother sitting unarmed on the throne. Alaka smiled at him, genuinely, warmly, without a trace of sarcasm or malice. Feeling somewhat foolish in full battle armor before an unarmed relative, Subahu said sternly, "Well, brother, do you admit defeat? Hand over the kingdom, or my soldiers will burn everything to the ground." Then Alaka did what Dattatreya had taught him. He removed the heavy crown adorned with precious gems, twirled it in his hands as if it were a trinket, and extended it to his brother. "Take it," he said lightly. "I am grateful to you, Subahu. You have no idea what service you are doing me." Subahu was stunned. He expected pleas for mercy, anger, curses, or bargaining, but gratitude? "Are you mocking me?" he growled. "I am taking everything you have, your fame, your treasury, your power." "Exactly," Alaka exclaimed. "You are taking my headache. Listen to me, brother. Until yesterday, I thought this kingdom was the source of happiness. I was wrong. It is the source of worries. I have spent sleepless nights thinking about taxes, rebellions, droughts. I was a slave to this golden throne. My mind was tied to things that never truly belonged to me. I suffered, fearing the loss of what is ultimately fleeting." Alaka rose from the throne and approached his brother, looking him straight in the eyes. "In the forest, I met someone who opened my eyes. I am not my wealth. I am the eternal witness, the observer. And the kingdom is just land and stones. It is like a hot coal. While you hold it in your hand, it burns. You came and offered to take this coal for yourself. How could I not be grateful to you? Now you will lose sleep at night. You will fear betrayal. You will grow old from worries, while I will be free. Take it, it is yours." Silence filled the hall. The commanders exchanged glances. The situation was absurd. The victor stood humbled, and the defeated looked like the triumphant one. Subahu looked at his brother and saw that he no longer feared. In Alaka's eyes there was no fear, only deep, unshakable peace. At that moment, all the joy of victory faded for Sabahu. What is the point of taking away a toy when the owner throws it away like trash? Power is sweet only when envied, but here there was nothing to envy. Then came the final twist in this drama. Sabahu, who turned out to be no ordinary antagonist, but a man remembering the lessons of their mother, suddenly lowered his sword and bowed to his brother. "Forgive me, Alaka," he said quietly. "I never truly wanted your kingdom. I acted at the request of our mother. She foresaw that, immersed in luxury and rule, you would forget your true spiritual nature. She asked me to create a crisis for you, a situation that would force you to seek higher wisdom. Only by losing everything could you find Dottatreya." It turned out that the entire war, the siege and the threat of death were a grand performance, a Leela, arranged solely to awaken the soul of one man. Harsh, perhaps, but in the ancient Indian tradition, the goal of enlightenment justifies any means. Sabahu refused to remove the throne. He said that now, as Alaka had become the wise Jnani, he could rule perfectly, without attachment to the outcomes of his actions. After all, the best ruler is one who does not need power for its own sake. Alaka accepted the kingdom back, but with a completely different mindset. He ruled for many more years, but inside remained a hermit, free from desires. This story is a vivid example of the method of the teacher. The teacher does not solve the student's problem in the external world. Instead, he changes the student's attitude toward the problem, and the problem disappears on its own. Alaka's victory was possible not because he became stronger than his brother, but because he stepped beyond the realm of conflict. While Dottatreya used complex philosophical dialogues with kings, his list of teachers also included those whose wisdom was born not in palaces, but in the roughest streets or under the open sky. We have already touched on his 24 gurus, but left out perhaps the most provocative figures. Learning from the earth is noble, but learning from a fallen woman or a fierce bird challenges our morality. Yet these stories about Pengala and the hawk reveal the essence of peace that comes when hope dies. Let us travel to the ancient city of Videha. There lived a woman named Pengala. Her profession was ancient, and her life depended entirely on the whims of men. The texts describe one particular evening, a turning point in her fate. Pengala stood at her door, dressed in her finest clothes, fragrant with costly oils. She awaited a wealthy client. Each time a man passed by, her heart fluttered with hope. Maybe this is the one. Maybe he is rich and generous. But the passers-by went on, and the hours passed. The sun set, and night fell over the city. Pengala would go inside, then back out onto the street. Her mind raced like a trapped animal. Hope turned to anxiety, anxiety to disappointment, and then hope flared again. She thought, just a little longer, someone will surely come and give me money. This hope was a torment. Midnight passed. The street emptied. It became clear that no one would come. At that moment, when despair peaked, an explosion occurred in Pengala's consciousness. Suddenly, she saw the absurdity of her situation. She, a living soul, a part of the divine, was wasting her life waiting for a worthless man who might give her a few coins. She was selling her body and tormenting her mind for illusory happiness. Pengala returned inside, but no longer with sorrow, rather with incredible relief. She lay down and immediately fell into a deep, peaceful sleep. Dottatreya, who either witnessed this or learned of the story, formulated a great principle. Hope is the greatest suffering, and hopelessness is the greatest happiness. It sounds paradoxical, doesn't it? We are used to thinking of hope as a virtue, but in the context of desire, hope is a chain that keeps us tense. While Pengala hoped, she suffered. The moment she cut off hope, called vairagya in Sanskrit, peace came to her. She realized that the true beloved, who never betrays and is always near, is God in her heart, not a passerby on the street. The second teacher in this series is the bird Kurara. Dottatreya saw this bird flying in the sky, carrying a large piece of meat in its beak. It was fortunate to find food, but fortune in the material world always attracts envy. A flock of stronger, more aggressive birds noticed the meat and attacked Carrara. They pecked at her, beat her wings, trying to snatch the prey. Carrara struggled to escape the chase, feeling fear of pain and death, and all this for a piece of flesh in her beak. At one point, her survival instinct, or a sudden insight, gave her the solution. She simply opened her beak. The piece of meat fell. The entire flock immediately forgot about Carrara and rushed after the falling prey. The bird, freed from the burden, soared up into the clear, calm sky. She perched on a tree branch, smoothed her feathers, and, as Dattatreya says, found peace. The lesson is simple and harsh. What we possess possesses us. The meat in the beak is our attachments, wealth, status, being right in an argument, grievances. As long as we hold them with a death grip, we become targets for attack. The whole world will peck at us, trying to take them away. But the moment we open our beak, voluntarily renouncing claims of possession, we become uninteresting as victims. We gain freedom. These two stories, about Pengala and the bird, complement the story of King Alaka. The king gave up an entire kingdom. The courtesan gave up waiting for a client. The bird gave up its meal. Different scales, but the mechanism is the same. Suffering lives not in things, but in our clinging to them. Dattatreya shows us that anyone can be a teacher, if we are ready to see the essence. Pengala did not read the Vedas. She was simply tired of suffering. The bird did not practice yoga. It simply wanted to live. But their experience became the foundation for the Avatutha Gita, the song of the liberated. Having explored the worldly and sometimes shocking lessons taught to our hero by the courtesan and the fierce bird, let us turn our attention to Dattatreya himself. If you have ever seen his image in temples or ancient miniatures, you may have noticed something unusual. Before us stands a three-faced deity embodying the full power of the Trimurti. But his entourage looks, to say the least, unconventional for a high religious tradition. Around him circle 4 dogs, and behind him, like a silent guardian, stands a white cow. For someone raised in Western culture, a dog is a friend and symbol of loyalty. But in the context of ancient Indian society, the attitude toward these animals was different. Dogs were considered impure beings, living on the outskirts, feeding on refuse, and dwelling near cremation grounds. Brahmins avoided contact with them to maintain ritual purity. Yet here we see the supreme yogi Avatutha not only tolerating their presence, but literally surrounded by them. Dogs nuzzle him, lie at his feet, and touch his body. This naturally raises the question, what is really happening here? Is this simply affection for animals, or is there something deeper at play? Traditional commentators provide an answer. These 4 dogs are not merely animals, they symbolize the 4 Vedas: Rig Veda, Yajurveda, Samaveda, and Atharva Veda. The Vedas are sacred texts, access to which was strictly regulated and limited to the highest castes for centuries. They are complex hymns and formulas describing the cosmos. Here, Dattatreya shows us that supreme knowledge follows the enlightened one as faithfully and persistently as a dog follows its master. This carries a profound message. By portraying the Vedas as dogs, the iconography hints that truth lies beyond social conventions. It is accessible even to those whom society deems impure or outcast. Knowledge sheds its bookish form and becomes a living companion, always by one's side. Furthermore, dogs possess a unique sense of smell, able to track scents invisible to humans. Similarly, the Vedas, as understood by Dattatreya's followers, help find the path to God through life's most tangled labyrinths. Dattatreya's gentle interaction with the dogs tells us, look beyond appearances to the essence. Even what seems unclean may hold the greatest wisdom. Now, turn your attention to the figure behind him, a white cow. In Indian mythology, the cow is not just livestock. It is Kamadhenu, the mythical wish-fulfilling cow, or Mother Earth herself, Prithvi. The cow symbolizes nature's nurturing aspect. It provides milk and butter for sacred fire offerings and feeds all without discrimination or expectation of return. Here we see a perfect balance. On one side, the dogs symbolize wild, untamed wisdom and loyalty. On the other, the cow represents gentleness, care, and material abundance. Dattatreya stands between them. He does not flee the world but lives in harmony with it. Nature nourishes him, and knowledge protects him. It is also worth examining the attributes Dattatreya holds in his 6 hands. In the hands representing the aspect of Vishnu, he holds the conch shell and the discus. The conch represents the primordial sound Om, the original vibration awakening consciousness. The discus symbolizes time, or the wheel of Dharma, which cuts through ignorance. These are tools for maintaining cosmic order. The hands associated with Shiva grasp the trident and the small drum called Damaru. The trident symbolizes control over the 3 gunas of nature: goodness, passion, and ignorance, as well as the destruction of the threefold suffering. The Damaru sets the rhythm of the cosmic dance, the rhythm of creation and destruction of universes. Finally, the hands of Brahma hold prayer beads, the Japamala, and a water pot, the Kamandalu. The beads symbolize continuous meditation and the counting of time cycles. The water pot represents the source of life, the primordial waters from which, according to legend, the world emerged. Notice that Dattatreya does not merely collect these objects, he unites their functions. He simultaneously creates, sustains, and dissolves. Another detail often overlooked is the tree under which Dattatreya is usually depicted. It is the Audumbara tree, the cluster fig. In Ayurveda and Tantric texts, this plant is considered sacred. It is said to contain a sap akin to the nectar of immortality. For followers of Dattatreya's cult, this tree is a living temple. It is believed that the Avaduta is always invisibly present wherever this fig tree grows. Thus, this entire visual ensemble is not just a beautiful decoration for an altar, it is a coded instruction for achieving spiritual perfection. Be devoted to truth like the dog of the Vedas. Be kind and nurturing to the world like the cow, the earth. Use the tools of discernment and control, the attributes in the hands. Seek refuge in living nature, the Audumbara tree. This image has served for centuries as a reminder that holiness does not have to be sterile or separated from life by a high wall. On the contrary, true sanctity embraces everything, the high and the low, the pure and the impure. If the symbolism with animals is relatively straightforward, they are silent and devoted servants, Dattatreya's relationship with certain intelligent beings raises many more questions. We are used to the classic mythological framework. Gods are good, demons or asuras are bad. Gods must defeat demons, and sages assist the gods. But Dattatreya, as we have seen, is an unconventional figure. Ancient Puranas, especially the Brahmanda Purana and Markandeya Purana, preserve remarkable accounts showing that not only the righteous, but also those considered enemies, number 1 by the celestial administration, came to the great yogi for guidance. These were the Asuras. Why would a deity who is essentially an incarnation of Vishnu, the preserver of cosmic order, teach those who seek to disrupt that order? This seems absurd when viewed through a black and white moral lens. But let us look deeper. In Indian cosmology, Asuras are not fallen angels or pure evil. They are more like half-brothers of the gods, possessing immense power, ambition, and, interestingly, the capacity for strict self-discipline. Dattatreya, as an Avaduta, stands beyond this family feud. For him, both Indra, king of the gods, and the king of demons are souls trapped in the snares of matter. The difference is that gods are entangled in pleasures, while demons are caught in thirst for power. Both need healing. There is a very instructive legend about how once the Asuras, led by the powerful demon Jamha, dealt a crushing defeat to the gods. The celestial beings, having lost their palaces and privileges, fled to earth in panic. Seeking protection, the sage Brihaspati advised them to go to Dattatreya. When the defeated and humbled delegation of gods arrived at the yogi's abode, they found a scene that bewildered them. Dattatreya sat in a beautiful garden. Beside him was a woman of dazzling beauty, Lakshmi, who had taken the form of his wife, Anaga. The ascetic drank wine, laughed and sang songs. He looked nothing like someone ready to don armor and save the universe. The gods pleaded, "O Lord, demons pursue us, save us, for we have nowhere else to go." Dattatreya, lazily swirling his cup, replied, "Can't you see? I am busy. I drink wine. I enjoy the company of a woman. I do not fight. Go to those who bear weapons." But the gods knew that behind this mask lay boundless power. They said, "We will stay here with you. Do as you will, but your presence is our only protection." And so they remained. Soon the army of Asuras arrived. The demons, intoxicated by their victories, stormed the hermitage, ready to finish off their enemies. But their attention was caught by the woman sitting next to Dattatreya. Her beauty was so extraordinary that the demons, accustomed to taking everything by force, instantly lost their reason. Desire clouded their judgment. The leader of the Asuras decided that such a beauty should belong to him, not to some drunken wanderer. They rushed to Anaga, seized her, placed her in a palanquin, and forgetting about the gods, began to retreat, rejoicing in their new prize. Dattatreya did not move. He only smiled faintly. The gods, watching in horror, cried out, "They are carrying away the mother of the world! Do something!" The Avaduta calmly replied, "Everything has already been done. They have defeated themselves." Indeed, as soon as the Asuras touched Anaga with impure thoughts, their centuries-old strength, accumulated through severe austerities, began to dissipate. In the Vedic tradition there is a law: another's wife is like fire. Violating the embodiment of the Divine Mother instantly burns away all the attacker's good karma. The demons grew weak, their weapons dulled, and their clarity of mind vanished. The gods only had to catch up with the weakened army and easily reclaim their power. This story reveals Dattatreya as a great strategist. He did not wield a sword. Instead, he used wisdom and the natural laws to bring about victory. He turned the enemy's weakness against them. He created an illusion of accessibility and indulgence to reveal the true nature of the demons. Had they approached with respect, they would have gained knowledge. But they came driven by desire and met their downfall. However, it would be wrong to think that Dattatreya only deceived the Asuras. Ancient texts tell us that he genuinely shared wisdom with them. Many tantric practices, methods of energy control, and even medical secrets were revealed through the demonic lineage. Why? Because knowledge itself is neutral. Fire can warm a home or burn down a city. Dattatreya gives everyone matches, but not all read the safety instructions. Scholars see a deeper meaning here. In mythology, Asuras often symbolize our untamed intellect and ego. We are intelligent, strong, ambitious, but without a spiritual core, this power can destroy us. Dattatreya teaches both demons and humans that external power without inner control leads to ruin. Moreover, because Dattatreya did not reject the Asuras, entire branches of yoga emerged in India that work with the darker sides of human nature. He showed that the energy of anger or desire need not be suppressed but transformed. But this path is dangerous, like walking on a razor's edge. Our interaction with demons leads us to the darkest and most mysterious aspects of Dattatreya's cult. We have already mentioned wine and women, but that is just the surface. There are traditions where he is honored in cemeteries, where rituals take place at night, and methods of achieving enlightenment can shock the unprepared. This is the realm of left-hand tantra and the Aghori tradition. Is this a distortion of his teachings, or their highest hidden form? To begin, let's clarify the terminology to avoid confusion. The word tantra in the West has gathered many myths, often reduced to exotic intimacy techniques. But in the ancient Indian context, it is a complex science of expanding consciousness and managing energies. The pinnacle of this science, its most radical form, is the Aghori tradition. The word Aghori translates paradoxically from Sanskrit. Ghora means terror, darkness, or fear. The prefix a negates it. So Aghori means fearlessness, or that which is not terrifying. The essence of the teaching is both simple and unbearable to the ego. Everything in this world is a manifestation of the one God, Brahman. If God is everywhere, then God is present in the purity of the temple, the filth of a drainage ditch, the scent of flowers, and the stench of decay. Dattatreya, as an Avadhuta, one who has cast off all social and mental shackles, is the perfect teacher for the Aghori. These ascetics live near cremation grounds. They smear their bodies with ash from funeral pyres, eat from skulls, and perform rituals that would chill the blood of ordinary people. Why? Not for show. Their goal is to break duality in their minds. As long as a person divides the world into pleasant and repulsive, they remain a slave to their preferences. The Aghori strives to see light even in the darkest shadows. In this tradition, Dattatreya appears not as a gentle shepherd, but as a stern guide through the abyss. Many texts describe his encounters with disciples. In such grim settings, he teaches that fear is the main guardian of the gates to immortality. If you fear death, filth, or social judgment, you are not free. Here we encounter a ritual known as Pancha Makara, or the 5 M's. It includes things strictly forbidden to orthodox Brahmins: madhya, wine; mamsa, meat; matsya, fish; mudra, roasted grain; and maithuna, ritual union. On the surface, this seems like a feast of indulgence, but under Dattatreya's guidance, these elements become tools of spiritual alchemy. Wine in the yogi's cup is not for intoxication, but a symbol of Shakti, divine energy meant to awaken the mind, not cloud it. Meat represents control over speech and language. The ritual union is not about satisfying passion, but the merging of masculine and feminine cosmic principles, Shiva and Shakti, within the practitioner. Dattatreya teaches that what causes a normal person to fall, the yogi uses to rise. Poison becomes nectar. But this path is like walking a sword's edge. The slightest mistake, the faintest shadow of desire, and the practice turns into a fall. Dattatreya is considered the Adi Guru, the original teacher of the Nath tradition. These yogis developed Hatha Yoga, now popular in fitness studios worldwide. It is striking to realize the roots of this physical discipline lie in dark rituals at cremation grounds, where Dattatreya's students sought to attain an indestructible diamond body beyond death. Great masters of this lineage, such as Matsyendranath and Gorakshanath, revered Dattatreya as the source of their power. In this context, the image of Dattatreya with dogs takes on deeper meaning. In Tantra, the dog is the messenger of Bhairava, the fierce form of Shiva. It guards the boundaries between worlds. Surrounded by dogs, Dattatreya shows his mastery over these limits. He can lead a disciple beyond social norms and bring them back whole and unharmed. Interestingly, even in the Bhagavata Purana, a classical and devout text, Dattatreya sometimes behaves like a typical Aghori. He deliberately breaks purity rules to deter those seeking only external splendor. It's as if he tells us, if you seek God, be ready to find him not only in the light of the sun, but also in the darkness of the night. This philosophy boils down to a simple yet difficult idea. Maya, the great illusion, creates the appearance of differences. We see beautiful and ugly, sacred and sinful. But Dattatreya's eye sees only one energy. For him, a cup of wine and the waters of the Ganges are the same. A radiant goddess and a decaying corpse are just different forms of the same matter. The task of the disciple walking this dangerous path is to learn to see the world through the eyes of their guru. Of course, in the modern world, these practices are often distorted or turned into tourist attractions in places like Varanasi. But the true tradition lives on, preserving the memory of Dattatreya as one who dared to look into the darkest corners of the human soul and illuminate them with his presence. Now, we descend from abstract philosophical heights and emerge from the twilight of tantric rituals onto solid, rocky ground, specifically the volcanic terrain of Gujarat state. If you look at the map of India, in the west, amid the dry plains of the Kathiawar Peninsula, you will find a solitary mountain range called Girnar. Geologists say these rocks are much older than the famous Himalayas, and their weathered black slopes make this easy to believe. For followers of the cult, This place is like the Vatican for Catholics, or Mecca for Muslims. It is not just a point on the map, but the physical home of the deity. According to legend, it was here, on the highest peak, that Dattatreya undertook his ascetic practice, or tapasya. And this was no brief meditation retreat. Legends speak of 12,000 years during which he stood on one leg without moving until his body became one with the mountain. Today, anyone can attempt the pilgrimage, but be warned, this trial is not for the faint of heart or body. To reach the shrine, one must climb a staircase carved into the rock, consisting of exactly 10,000 steps. Those who have made the ascent say the journey is a perfect metaphor for spiritual progress. At first, you are full of enthusiasm, taking selfies with the countless monkeys and admiring the views. But around the 3,000th step, the ego begins to falter. Your legs ache, your breath falters, and all you can think is, why did I come here? Yet those who reach the summit enter a completely different world. At the peak, battered by all the winds, stands a small temple. It contains no statue in the usual sense. Instead, there is a paduka, impressions of Dattatreya's feet pressed into the stone. Pilgrims bow before these footprints, believing that it was here that the great Avadhuta once stood thousands of years ago. Yet the true fascination lies not in the stones themselves, but in the atmosphere surrounding them. The local inhabitants and the sadhus, holy hermits dwelling in the caves of the mountain, earnestly share that he never truly left. He remains here, though one must know how to see him. This brings us back to his favourite form of concealment. The mountain is surrounded by dense forests. Interestingly, this is one of the few places in the world, aside from Africa, where lions still roam in the wild. In these untamed surroundings, pilgrims sometimes encounter unusual figures. Many modern legends tell of a weary traveller meeting an old, unkempt stranger who asks for water. If the traveller turns away with disdain, the stranger vanishes. But if the traveller shares their last sip, the elder may utter a phrase that resolves the traveller's deepest dilemma, or gently touch their forehead, granting sudden insight. In the next moment, the traveller blinks and realises no one was there. Such stories are passed down through generations, sustaining the belief that Dattatreya continues his endless watch. It is notable that this mountain is a crossroads of different traditions. Just below the peak lie ancient Jain temples of extraordinary beauty. The Jains, known for their asceticism and commitment to non-violence, also consider this mountain sacred. Dattatreya welcomes this coexistence, underscoring his non-sectarian nature. Like the mountain itself, he is one for all, but each person perceives him from their own perspective. On this mountain range is also the famous Thuni, the sacred fire of the great yogi Gorakshanath mentioned earlier. It is said this fire has burned continuously for hundreds of years, and its ash is believed to have healing properties. The connection between Dattatreya and the yogis is palpable here. This is a place of power, where the boundary between myth and reality blurs. The air is thin, and perhaps the mild oxygen deprivation contributes to visions, yet skeptics fall silent when they see the eyes of those who descend from above. Why a mountain? In sacred geography, a mountain is the axis mundi, connecting earth and sky. Climbing this mountain is a ritual act. At its base, one leaves behind social roles, problems and comforts. One becomes simply a body overcoming gravity. At the summit, where nothing remains but wind and footprints in stone, there is a chance to meet oneself. Dattatreya on this mountain symbolises that God does not dwell somewhere distant in an abstract paradise. He walks the same earth as we do, breathing the same air. The concept of Chiranjeevi offers hope, not just a memory of the past, but an expectation of meeting here and now. Every pilgrim ascending these 10,000 steps secretly hopes, perhaps that strange old man with the dog seen at the bend was him. This faith in the living presence of the teacher makes the cult of Dattatreya unique. He continues to teach. If ancient kings like Alaka received guidance from him in the forests, modern people can find their lessons in offices or on subways, simply by recalling his image. After all, His name means the one who comes to mind. But what can Dottatreya offer us in the 21st century, living amid digital noise and constant rush? Are his teachings about snakes and renouncing kingdoms still relevant when we face deadlines and burnout instead of demons? It turns out his philosophy is even more needed today than by ancient hermits. As we conclude, we ask, these are fascinating stories about three-headed gods, kings with 1,000 arms, and demons undone by passion. But what do they mean to us? To people living in a world of smartphones, artificial intelligence, and chronic time scarcity, is Dottatreya merely a dusty relic of a bygone era? In truth, once the veil of religious exoticism is lifted, we find that the philosophy of the Avadutta is as relevant now as it was 5,000 years ago. What is modern neurosis but an endless chase to be someone? We build personal brands, strive to meet social standards, fear falling behind in the information flow, endlessly scrolling through feeds. We define ourselves by our titles, bank accounts, and follower counts. Dottatreya offers a radical alternative. His main message is encoded in a text attributed to him, the Avadutta Gita, or the Song of the Liberated. This work is unique because it contains no rules. It does not say, do this or don't do that. From the very first lines, Dottatreya declares, I am not the body, not the mind, not the senses. I am infinite pure consciousness, like the sky. For the 21st century person overwhelmed by information noise, this idea is like a breath of fresh air. Dottatreya teaches a state called sahaja, naturalness, when one stops playing roles. You no longer try to appear smarter, richer, or more spiritual than you are. You simply exist, observing life's play without emotional involvement. Remember King Alaka, who suffered because he identified with his throne. Once he realized he was not the throne, his suffering vanished. Today our thrones are mortgages, careers, and ambitions. Dottatreya does not urge us to quit our jobs and live in the forest with dogs, though that is an option for some. Instead, he calls us to an inner migration. One can sit in an office, run a company, or raise children while maintaining an inner sanctuary of silence, free from fear and expectation. It is worth noting that Dottatreya's philosophy greatly influenced modern perspectives on yoga and Vedanta. The great Swami Vivekananda, who introduced Indian wisdom to the West, highly praised the Avadutta Gita. He said this text can cleanse the mind of centuries of fear. The idea that God is everything and everything is God erases boundaries between religions. Dottatreya is a universal archetype, a voice of our own conscience whispering, relax, you are already perfect. You do not need to achieve anything. You only need to remember who you are. We often seek teachers outside ourselves, traveling to distant lands, searching for gurus, paying for personal growth courses. But Dottatreya, whose teachers were a bee and a python, laughs at this spiritual tourism. He tells us, look around. Your difficult boss is your guru teaching patience. Losing money is a guru teaching detachment. Illness is a guru reminding you of the body's fragility. The whole world is a vast school, and Dottatreya is its headmaster, not sitting in an office but present in every lesson. His three-headed image reminds us of the unity of time, past, present, and future flowing as one. We tend to regret the past and fear the future, but the Avadutta lives in the eternal now. His nakedness, or as the texts say, his garment of the directions, symbolizes the absence of secrets and masks. He has nothing to hide because there is no one else in the universe but him. Thus, the cult of Dottatreya is not idol worship. It is worship of freedom, the very freedom we all dream of but fear to embrace, because it demands full responsibility for our state of being. It is easier to blame retrograde Mercury or the government for our troubles. It is harder, as King Yadu did, to recognize that happiness and suffering are simply settings of our own mind. To close, consider a beautiful metaphor. Dottatreya is like a child playing with a mirror. He sees thousands of faces, gods, people, animals, but knows they are only reflections of himself. We too are these reflections, and perhaps when we stop the rush and look within, we meet Dotatreya's gaze, smiling at us from the depths of millennia. This concludes our story about the great, mysterious and paradoxical Dattatreya. May there always be a moment of pause in your life, a space where you can listen to the silence. As Avaduta taught, it is within silence that all the answers are found. Thank you for joining us. Until we meet again in future lectures. You've been watching Ancient Secrets. Thanks for watching and have a great day.